Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Java Basics. Today we're talking about loops. Now in a prior video we talked about a while loop. Today we're talking about a different kind of loop, the for loop. There are two kinds of for loops, basic and advanced. We'll save the advanced one for a future video. For now we'll just talk about the basics. Now if you've missed any videos in this series, I've put a link to the first video in the description below so you can get there quickly and catch up on anything you may have missed. For now, let's get started with for loops. If you want to learn Java programming, or just programming in general, subscribe to this channel. We put out a lot of videos that range from beginner topics to more advanced programming concepts. Also, please like this video, share it with a friend, and write a comment as well. It goes a long way to help promote a channel like this. Now, let's get back to the video. Here's the basic structure of a for loop. For, open parentheses. Inside the parentheses we have three different things, as you can see by the colors. Close parentheses, and then we have a whole bunch of code inside curly braces. Let's get into it and break down each specific piece. The first thing that happens is we initialize a variable to some starting value. After that, we execute every single Java command inside these curly braces, whether it's one line or 100 lines. Once we're done with all of that code, we jump over to here and we modify our variable that we declared over here and we set it to the next value. Now, in most for loops, that means just adding 1 to the value if we're dealing with integers, but it certainly doesn't have to be that way. After we change our variable to the next value, we jump back up to the top of the for loop. Once we're there, we check this continue condition. This is similar to the while loop. As long as this condition is true, we're going to proceed inside the brackets and execute the code again. Once we're done with that code, we jump back up, check our continue condition again, and so on and so on. As soon as this condition becomes false, we exit the loop and proceed along our merry way. So let's try this, printing the numbers from 1 to 10. First things first, we declare our variable. It's going to be called I. That's a very common variable to use in for loops, and we're going to set it to 1. Now I is the variable that we're going to be increasing every time we pass through the loop. So all we're going to do is print the variable I. So at the start, I is 1, and we've printed 1. Now that we're done with all the lines of code inside these brackets, we go over here, and we change I to be the next value. In this case, we're adding 1 to I. I is now going to be 2. Then we jump back up to the top of the for loop, and we repeat the commands inside the for loop. However, we have to check to see if our continue condition is true. So before we jump back into the loop, we have to check to see if I is less than or equal to 10. As long as it is, we'll go into the loop again, finish it, add 1 to I, rinse and repeat. At some point, I is going to be equal to 10. Since it's less than or equal to 10, we go into the loop, we print 10, we increment I, so now it is 11. We jump back up to the top of the loop, and now we can see that when I is 11, this condition is no longer true. Because it's no longer true, we jump out of the loop and we finish any code that's down here. In this case, we're just going to print, I am done. Let's head over to NetBeans, see how it works. And here's the code. Let's run it and see how it works. And here are the numbers. Again, we declare a variable. It starts at 1. We print 1. Add 1 to it. It's now 2. Is it less than or equal to 10? Yes. Come into here. Print 2. Add 1 to it. Now it's 3. Come back into here. Check to see if it's less than 10. It is. Print 3. And so on and so on. Eventually we're going to print 9. We'll add 1 to it. I will now be 10. Is it less than or equal to 10? It sure is. We'll come in here. We'll print 10. Add 1 to it. I is now 11. We come back here. Is it less than or equal to 10? It is not. Therefore, we jump out here and print our done message. Let's try it one more time. And there it is. Now it's important to note that going to the next value doesn't necessarily have to just be I++. It could be I plus equals 2. In other words, now the next value is going to be 2 more. So we're going to add 2 to I every time we go through the loop. When we run this, you can see that we're printing every other value. When I is 9, it prints it. We add 2. It's now 11. 11 is not less than 10. We don't print anything anymore. We go to I am done. It could also be minus minus. Of course, that means we're going to start at 10, and we're going to continue as long as we are greater than or equal to 1. This will print the numbers in reverse order, as you can see. Okay, time for some practice. Write a method that's going to compute and return the sum of all numbers between some lower and upper bound. Now, we're only going to sum up the numbers that are multiples of 2 and 3. Pause the video, see if you can get it done. We'll go over it in a minute. Okay, time to head over to NetBeans and see how we can make this happen. First things first, let's get rid of all this test code that we did printing the numbers 1 through 10. We don't need that anymore. Now we're going to make a method, and we're going to call it. Okay, so what's going to happen inside this method? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by declaring a variable, sum. We'll start that as 0. The next thing we want to do is we want to loop through all the numbers between our lower and our upper bound. So we'll start a loop. So here's our loop. Now, you notice that it's underlined in red, and I did that on purpose because for loops don't use commas, they use semicolons. As you can see, I used the correct semicolon here, but over here I used a comma. Now that's a very common mistake, so please make sure that you use semicolons to separate the 3 different parts of our for loop. Anyway, inside the for loop, what do we want to do? We want to take sum and add it to I. But we only want to do that if I is divisible by 2 or 3. The way we're going to do that, the way we're going to check for that, is by using the Java mod function or operator. If, let's break this down. I %2. Percent is the mod operator. Just in case you're not aware, mod means what is the remainder when we divide I by 2? Well, if I divided by 2 has a remainder of 0, that means that I is divisible by 2, I is an even number, and that's one that we want. Or I %3, I mod 3. This means divide I by 3 and check the remainder. If the remainder is 0, I is divisible by 3. So if I is divisible by 2 or divisible by 3, then we'll include it in our sum. At the very end, we have to return the sum. Now, this method's job is not to print anything. It's returning the sum, which means just calling the method will not print anything. We have to actually print whatever this returns. And now let's try it. The numbers 1 through 10. What should we expect? Well, the number 1 is not included. The number 2 is, that's divisible by 2. The number 3 is included, so 2 plus 3 is 5. The number 4 is included, that makes 9. 5 is omitted. 6 is included, that brings us up to 15. Not 7. Definitely 8. So that means 15 plus 8, now we have 23. We want to include 9, that's divisible by 3, that brings us to 32. And then the number 10, that's included, so that brings us up to 42. Let's see if we get the right answer. And we do. Perfect, the number 42, which, if my memory serves me correctly, is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. I hope you learned something from watching this video. Please remember to subscribe and share this video with others who are learning Java programming. Thanks for watching, and take care, everyone.